Oh, where have all the passes gone? I'm stunned at what I found out with my research. I'll share it with you coming up. Plus, can the Jazz rebuild the bridge lineup after getting blown out in Boston? Charlotte's the next task, and we'll talk about it. It's all coming up on today's edition of Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 pow.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thanks very much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. And we are free and available on all platforms for you, including YouTube, where you can subscribe, hit that little button, hit the bell, and be notified right away on all your podcast platforms. By the way, feel free to subscribe. The data is out. Like, there's a big, huge podcast thing going on, and it says that the average podcast listener listens to 8 podcasts a month. So the fact that you're taking 2 or 3 or 4 with me a week, I sincerely appreciate it. Apologize for no show yesterday. I'm going to be just 100% transparent. My son, who goes to Williams College in Massachusetts, was with me in Boston. And he is not actually a Jazz fan. He cares. He roots for the franchise. They pay me. But he doesn't actually love going to the arenas or going to basketball. So he did not spend the night before. Once I went to the arena, I didn't see him again. So I decided that yesterday morning before I left in Boston was sun time. It was really quite amazing to see my 19-year-old kind of as a grown kid and everything. And for those of you who are parents and who have had kids who have left the house, I think you know that pain. Never felt anything like it this year. Never been sadder in my life than having him not be home. But he's great. So it was cool to see and appreciate your understanding of no show yesterday. We can get into Boston. I mean, they're just on fire and were way better than us and played harder and came at us and didn't miss a shot for 8 minutes. It was a little bit of an onslaught. We made a lot of mistakes. I went back and rewatched the first quarter. We had some weird rotations and didn't do some things well, and not having Bojan bothered us. And, I'm going to go back to kind of what I've said about us forever this year. And we last year and maybe this year were a perfectly put together piece of what crystal, like glass art. Let's call it glass art, like a beautiful Choluli, if you know that, or maybe I think of it more as like a geometric feature. It's got like almost like Jenga blocks of pieces of glass that have been worked in. The glass, the light comes in and reflects off the glass, and it's masterfully beautiful, and different colors come out of the prisms, and it looks incredible when it's fully put together. And what we've seen this year is, unlike some of the teams in the league, when you pull one of those little things out, the light's no longer reflecting. It just kind of comes and it hits dead. And, but when we're together and it's all there, we're pretty beautiful. And it works together and the light reflects and it's all there. But when we have one of those pieces out, it doesn't look as pretty. The light doesn't reflect. We really kind of, it's not a very pretty piece of art. You look at it and literally think to yourself, like, wow, the artist missed something here. And that's my analogy of where we are. And it does mean that, as we see Denver, survive without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., I think we have to be honest, that's clearly not something that we've been able to do in the same way. Can you, you watch, Kevin Durant without Kyrie Irving, he seems to be fine. Though frankly, they're not, as good. So I think when you look at it, that's who we are. And so if you want to be, if we're not healthy, and we saw that last year in the playoffs, we get very, very vulnerable. And Boston just smoked us. They came in a different level. By the way, like, don't ignore the number in the NBA right now about rest advantage. When you have a rest advantage, teams are winning something like 65% of the time. That's a crazy number. Just doesn't matter who the opponents are, 65% of the time, the team with the rest advantage is winning. Well, Brooklyn was off for 2 days before they played us. We were on a back-to-back. And Boston wasn't on a huge rest advantage in the sense they just come back from a trip, but we were playing our third game in 4 nights. I mean, our guys are pretty well spent. There are some things that we need to try to figure out. And I dug deep last night trying to figure out, where have all the passes gone? And I promise I will never sing again on the show. But we used to pass the basketball. And, we called it the blender, and we did all of these different kind of things. And we're not passing the basketball like we used to. And so I want to dig in and try to figure out why. Now, the first thing that I actually think is relevant here is I'm actually not sure, and I have been one who has been, frankly, not that interested in this statistic. Ron brings it up all the time, and I'm like, And the reason I'm not that interested in this statistic is there's not a large correlation between passes and wins, and passes and offense. If you kind of look at the passes and the offensive rating, it doesn't equate. And, you look at James Harden playing isolation and teams pass. But, if you look at the Jazz, over the last 4 years, we threw 27,000 passes in 18-19. We threw 24,000 in 19-20. We played fewer games. We played fewer games last year in 24,000 passes, but right about the same amount of games played. And this year, all of a sudden, we've thrown 19,000 passes. So we're throwing about 20% fewer passes than we threw last season. That seems like, as much as I'm not like a big believer in this number, to suddenly be throwing 21% fewer passes, to me, jumps out as like, whoa, what happened? That seems pretty dramatic. Maybe now, in fairness, I have not looked at whether or not whether passes are down across the league or anything like that. So I haven't done that level of research. But the thoughts I had on this were a few things. One is I had 3 theories on why we're not passing. So my first theory was that we have become a off the bounce 3-point shooting team instead of a catch and shoot 3-point shooting team. And so therefore we don't pass. My second theory was that we're playing in transition, trying to get shots earlier in transition and trying to run. And so therefore there's less time in our possessions. And so therefore we're not passing as much. And my third theory was that everyone's switching us defensively more. So we're caught into this isolation game. And that's what we have. So which of those 3, the questions for those listening on YouTube, I'll have the question up in our little chat room. Which of those 3 right now do you think it is? Go answer this very second before, or do you have a 4th theory on why we're not passing? And by the way, let's point out this. We have the number 1 offense in all of the NBA. So one of the real reasons why I think this doesn't matter is because, we have the number 1 offense in the NBA. But when I watch us against better defensive teams, it feels like we need to ping it more. And there is, again, I'm uncomfortable with this because this is like one of these shows where I don't have all the analytics to back up everything I'm thinking. But it feels as though when we play teams that are elite defensively and we're not pinging it, then our offense just isn't as good and doesn't work as well. So are teams switching us more? Are we taking just more off the bounce threes? Are we playing more in transition? Therefore, our passes are down. And again, I guess let's ask does it actually matter? Because we have the number 1 offense in all of the NBA. and we're worrying about whether we're throwing enough passes. But to me, it feels like against the elite defensive teams, we need to be throwing those passes. Might not be true. That, by the way, the whole entire premise of this, if we're being perfectly honest, could be complete crap. And if you go look at the games where we threw the most passes, by the way, the last time we threw the most passes was against Charlotte. The most passes we've thrown in any game all season long was against Charlotte. So I've timed this well so that we could actually just go throw a bunch of passes tonight, and then you guys can all be like, oh, they listen to Locked On Jazz. I don't really think that's true. All right, so that's where we sit. Today's show, the Friday edition of today's show, is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. They've done amazing, amazing things here during this whole kind of car shortage, and one of the most is to not charge you more than MSRP. They simply do not believe in taking advantage of you in that manner. So impressively and loyal to the community, Blake Murdoch has decided no charge above MSRP. There is still a car shortage. So if you're interested in getting a car, let me set you up at any of the locations in Logan, Linden, and in 4646 South State Street. And we will take care of you and give you a VIP experience. It is the Elantra is the North American Car of the Year, and the SUV lineup, the little Kona I'm driving, spanning all the way up to the Palisade, is just incredible. So make sure you grab a hold and have the experience you can with all of the Hyundais. Go test drive a car today, but email me first so I can set you up with a VIP meeting at dlock09@gmail.com. There's a new app called Truebill that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel. Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel all your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions. Pretty cool app. Also monitors how much you're spending, what you're doing, things of that nature. I actually subscribed and finding I had a pretty good control of my subscriptions. I did catch one or two I didn't know about. I also have like 5 coffee subscriptions and various other things. It's like, why do you have all these? But I do. I'll tell you, it's a cool app to kind of monitor what you're doing, where you're spending, things of that nature. So don't fall into subscription scams and use the whole value of Truebill. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA could save you thousands a year. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with the off the bounce 3. A lot of numbers here. Apologize. That's what we do. One day I'll have like a producer who does graphics for us. So in the 18-19 season, we took 24 catch and shoot shots a game. In the 19-20 season, we only took 22. We actually dipped. And we went to 41%. And in 2021, we went to 26. So last year we went from 22 to 26, which is a massive jump. And I'll get into how we did it. This year we've dipped to 24, but it's the same number we were in 18-19. What's really changed on our catch and shoot game is we went from 41% to 36%. And it's not entirely who you'd think it is. So certainly the switch from George Niang to Rudy Gay has been problematic for our catch and shoot shooting percentage, but it's not it's not that many shots. So it that's a little hard to look at. It's actually, as much as anything until just recently, been Jordan Clarkson and Donovan Mitchell. So if you look at the Jazz catch and shoot last year, Jordan Clarkson shot 37% on 4 of them. George Niang took 4 of them and made 44%. Royce was at 39, and Joe Ingles had a career year, making 3 a game, or taking 3 a game and making 49%. So the big thing here is that we went from George Niang at 3.7 catch and shoots and Joe Ingles at 3.3. So 7 of our catch and shoots a game a year ago were at 43% or better, and teams had to space to that as well. And that gets to the bridge lineup as well, which I'm hoping we're going to get to today. Donovan was at 43% on 3.2. So remember the key numbers are Donovan was at 43, Jordan was at 37, and Niang Ingles was at 43. Okay, Niang Ingles at 43, Clarkson at 37, Donovan at 43. I can't remember those. The dyslexic guy in the room's not getting those. This year, suddenly Jordan's at 31. Donovan's at 36. And the Joe Ingles was at 36. Rudy Gay's at 30 is taking 3 of them at 33. And I don't really know who's taking the other ones. Like, I don't know who has suddenly picked up and started taking Joe Ingles catch and shoots. But what's interesting is the real story here is that we've dropped percentage-wise from 41 to 36. We're just not as potent. We're not as good a shooting team. With Joe having the off year and then getting hurt, with George Niang signing somewhere else and Rudy Gay stepping in. What we have done is we have, in fact, upped our off-the-bounce 3 game. But we really haven't dropped our catch-and-shoot game. So that doesn't explain the passes. Just so you know, we've gone from 9.5 in 18-19 to 13 off-the-bounce threes, to 17 off-the-bounce threes this year to 16. The league is way down on off-the-bounce threes. Teams are defending the off-the-bounce three way differently this year than they did a year ago. That might be part of it because we were second in the league at 17. We're number 1 by a large margin at 16. That's kind of a story I stumbled upon in and of itself. The average catch and shoot, off-the-bounce catch and shoot team in the league this year is taking about 10 a game. And last year, the number was about the same. But last year, there was the Portland at 19, Jazz at 16, Boston at 15. And this year, the Jazz are at 16, the stop 1. The Knicks are next at 13. Atlanta's at 12. So teams have shut down the off-the-bounce 3 a little bit. Okay, so the first hypothesis was that we're becoming an off-the-bounce 3 team and not a catch-and-shoot team. And I don't think the answer's actually true. We're taking 2 fewer than we did a year ago, but we're at the same number we were in 18-19. And we're taking 1 fewer off the bounce threes than we did a year ago. The real story, and it's why our sister down, we're just making less. We made 41% into 36. So is it because we're running more? Would be the next question. So in the first 7 seconds of the shot clock, 3 years ago, we took 16 and a half shots. Or no, wait a sec. 3 years ago, we took 15 shots. We took 6 of them as threes, so about 39% of our shots as threes. And we had a shot quality of 58%. Last year, we jumped our 15% of our shots in the first 7 seconds to 18. Huge jump. And we actually took, this is crazy, we took 3 more shots in the first 7 seconds of shot clock last year, but we took 3.4 more shots as threes. So we took 52% of our shots in the first 7 seconds of the shot clock when we were running. When we were running at 52% of them as threes, and our shot quality was at 55. We got them up. We were really right. This year we're running on 1.5% fewer or 1.5 fewer possessions a game. So what we actually have done, what teams I think have done, have reacted to our early transition threes. We're taking 48% of our shots as threes, and we're either running a little less, or teams have reacted to us and are taking away our running. I'm seeing teams take away our running. They'll pressure the ball. They'll run to our wings. Their teams have adjusted a little bit on how we play, but we're not running more. So the first hypothesis was that we've become an off-the-bounce 3 shooting team. The second hypothesis is that we've become more of a first 7 seconds to the clean trying to run, so we throw less passes. And neither of those are true. So the next question is, our team switching us more? And that's not true either. I don't know. So last year, over 6,600 picks, teams switched us 26% of the time. And this year, over 6,900 picks, teams are switching us 26% of the time. 26% of the time, both times. I don't know. I really I don't know. So the only thing that I think is interesting here is it's self-imposed. Like that might be what my takeaway is on this. My instinct was we're either running more in some capacity or that we are taking a different type of. The last thing that just struck to me right now as we're talking, and I wonder if I can find this in enough time, is whether we're just later in possessions than we've ever been. And so we're taking more time. And like, it does feel like we come to a halt at some point in every possession. Again, we're the number one offensive team in the league. So what are we worrying about? So this year, I'm looking at unpredictable. We use an average possession is 14.8 seconds, which ranks 22nd in the league. After a made shot, we're 22nd in the league at 17.7. This is interesting. After a defensive rebound, we're 28th in the league. We're one of the slowest teams in the league off a defensive rebound. We're the number one team in the league off a defensive rebound, though. Again, like, what are we quibbling about? Or what am I quibbling about? You're just paying attention. Last year, we played in 14.4 seconds, which was 14th instead of 28th. We played in 17.2. So we are, in fact, a half second slower in our offense. And by the time we get a shot off and how we play than we've been before. But why we're passing less, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I came up with a hypothesis. I did the research. I got no answer. And I'm not sure I have a great answer on how to fix the bridge lineup other than blow up the entire rotation. And I have that for you next on a jam-packed show of Locked On Jazz. Today's show, this is cool, is brought to you by NBA Top Shot. This is super cool. NBA Top Shot's the officially licensed NFT of the NBA. Connect with a community of hundreds of thousands of NBA fans as a natural progression of fantasy sports and a way to upgrade your experience as an NBA fan. This is the future of what being an NBA fan looks like. Trading cards, every moment on Top Shot originate in a pack. Unlike trading cards, they aren't still images on cardboard. They're officially licensed NFTs of the greatest moments in NBA history, akin to stock market for NBA. Every day, millions of dollars worth of NFTs are traded back and forth between tens of thousands of NBA fans around the world. Fantasy sports, if a 2K influencer, mentions the Jazz, in that every night you have the ability to capitalize in the market if you're able to predict top performers. Great little programs as well. Investors include Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant, Will Smith. Pretty cool whole program over at NBA Top Shot. And so NBA, it's the future of being an NBA fan. Own officially licensed rare NFTs of the greatest moments in NBA history. Sign up today at lockedon.nbatopshot.com. That's lockedon.nbatopshot.com. Today's show is also brought to you by betonline.net. BetOnline has all of the latest odds, contest, player props, number one source for all your sports and betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot of all sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all sport wagering information, including live betting, favorite Vegas casino. Head to the website today and BetOnline, where the game begins. Let me find out what the line is today. Do you think we're favored? I bet you we think we shouldn't be favored, and I'll bet Vegas has us favored. Or BetOnline. Let's see. BetOnline.net. Line for today's game, Jazz favored by 3.5. Interesting. Interesting. All right. So what do we do about the bridge lineup? I did a bunch of work on this. It's going to be geeky. So last year, Conley, Clarkson, Ingles. Sorry, I'm going to look over here because this is where my notes are. Conley, Clarkson. I could bring it over and I'll just be looking right at you. Why? There we go. Conley, Clarkson, Ingles, Niang, and Gobert last year was a plus 14.4. The three-man lineup of Conley, Clarkson, and Gobert was a plus 20.2. This year, the three-man lineup of Conley, Clarkson, Gobert is still really good. It's a plus 13, 97th percentile. Hard to quibble. You take out Joe Ingles, and it goes to plus 3.9. It goes to the 73rd percentile. So we suddenly miss, like, Joe's just maybe ball movement, presence, length, even on a year where he was not having as good a year. We miss that. Go to Rudy Gay as the 4 without Joe Ingles, and we're a plus 1.1 in the 57th percentile, and we can't shoot. It's really weird. The bridge lineup with Rudy Gay as the 4 is in the 2nd percentile of all shooting, 47%. Last year, with Conley, Clarkson, Gobert, we were in the 97th percentile offensively. When you put Rudy Gay in with those 4 guys this year, they're in the 28th percentile. Without Joe Ingles, we're in the 44th percentile of this group. Like, Joe may have made this group run a little bit. With Eric Paschall instead of Rudy Gay and no Joe Ingles, we're minus 20. Defense is in the 0 percentile, and the offense is the same thing. Here's what gets interesting. With any 4 other guys other than Gay or Paschall and no Joe Ingles, we get back up to 20.4, plus 20.4. The whole idea this whole year has been to take Rudy Gay or Eric Paschall and put them into George Niang's spot. And now without Joe Ingles, I wonder if you blow up the whole thing. If you have Conley, Mitchell, Clarkson, O'Neal, and Gobert on the floor, we're plus 36 in just 34 possessions. How would we do that? You play Donovan the entire first quarter. Donovan does get tired. And he plays the entire first quarter. He comes back and plays the last 6 minutes of the second quarter. And you have Conley and Gobert return with Donovan still on the floor. Is how you do that. Conley, Clarkson, O'Neal, Bogey, and Gobert in 25 possessions is plus 44.4. Again, how would you do that? You'd have Bogey play the entire first quarter. Maybe even have O'Neal play the entire first quarter with the other substitutions in there, and Gobert and Conley come back as Clarkson stays on, and you're blowing up the entire rotation to do this. Other 5-man lineup notes. Sample size on all these is way too small. Conley, Clarkson, House, Paschall, and Gobert. Okay, so now you're back. House is taking Joe Ingles, Paschall seeing him. That's plus 11 in 45 possessions. Conley, Clarkson, House, Gay, and Gobert. You're at 5.8. Positive. What's interesting here, again, your effective field goal percentage is a 43.5. There's no chance that group continues to shoot that badly. It's in the 2nd percentile. So I'm actually pretty bullish on that group right there. And that's just keeping the lineup as it is when Daniel House comes back, Rudy Gay steps in. Because I can't believe if they're defensively in the 92nd percentile, they're actually pretty big with House and Gay and Gobert. And I can't believe they're going to forever shoot 43.5. Here's some other little kind of tidbit notes on this. Take away Alexander Walker and Trent Forrest, and any lineup with Conley, Clarkson, Gobert is still, and Joe Ingles, is plus 12. But the effective field goal percentage is still terrible. And yet they're plus 12. A lot of those lineups have Donovan in it. And maybe that's the answer, is that you're running Donovan into these lineups a little bit and changing the way you do this bridge lineup. And you got to blow up the entire rotation of how you do things 8 games left in the season. Seems like a really hard thing to do. Take Donovan out, you're still plus 6. You're not plus 20 like you were a year ago. You're still plus 6. And again, the effective field goal percentage is still in the 12th percentile. Why that group is shooting so badly this year, I don't know. So, again, our sample sizes are really, really small. But if you take Conley, Clarkson, Gobert, and decide you're not playing Ingles, you're not playing Mitchell, you're not playing Alexander Walker, and you're not playing Forrest. So you're fiddling around with O'Neal and Bogey and House and Gay and Paschall and Hernan Gomez. In 103 possessions, House and Gay are plus 6 with the terrible effective field goal percentage, and the defense is amazing. House and Pascal are plus 11 in just 45 possessions. O'Neal and Bogey are plus 44 in just 25 possessions in an offense that's unnatural. But again, this gets to an argument of blowing up the entire thing and bringing Bogey back in with that group, because what George Niang was so great at was hitting that corner three and hitting those and making those plays with Conley and Clarkson rolling with Ingles, Clarkson, and everybody spaced. Do you bring Bogey back in to get somebody who can actually shoot other than Gay and Pascal, or do you play Bogey the entire 12 minutes of the first quarter, and now you've got to build a 6 minute bench lineup that is 3 of it is probably Conley, Gobert, and Clarkson, and you're fiddling and tearing the bridge lineup into 3. I don't understand all the ramifications. I don't know how the players work. I've sat in meetings with the coaches trying to figure out substitution patterns, but I would say this. My takeaway from all this, I can keep giving you data, but you want my takeaway. My takeaway is that it's actually time to get rid of the bridge lineup. That we can't recreate what we had a year ago with the guys we have and shorten it into it just being a beginning of the second quarter lineup. And I don't know whether Donovan and Bogey can play 12 throughout the whole way, but can you run Donovan and Bogey all 12 minutes? At the regular substitution where you take out Conley and Gobert 4 or 5 minutes in and bring in Whiteside and bring in Clarkson, and then you can have House come in for O'Neal when you want to. Or maybe House comes in for O'Neal at that same point, and then you have your substitutions, and then you bring back a lineup of Conley, Clarkson, Donovan, Bogey, and Gobert, and you just go all offense to close the first quarter. Then Bogey and Donovan finally sit, and you stay out there with Conley, Clarkson, Gobert, and you're bringing back O'Neal maybe and whatever, Pascal or Gay, whoever is your, and they're playing a more traditional 6 to 8, 7 minutes there, and Bogey comes back at the 6 minute mark, and Donovan comes back at the 6 minute mark with Royce, and you close with the same starting lineup. That's the only thought I have, that we just disband the bridge lineup. I don't know. Again, if we're worrying about it offensively, number 1 offense in the NBA, and we're fretting about a lot of stuff. All right. That is Locked On Jazz today. Lots of research, lots of stuff. Charlotte is a bad first quarter team, and we need to take advantage of that. That's really like the biggest takeaway I have for you on the game. Charlotte is 26th in the league in first quarters, 4th in the league in third quarters. For whatever reason, they start games badly, and I think it's because they don't defend at all. So we've got to come out with some tenacity in this game. Charlotte plays with great pace. Our group is tired. We've played a lot of games without many days, and we've got to come out quickly. All right. Hope you like that show. A lot of geeky numbers, a lot of research, a lot of hours in a hotel room trying to figure stuff out. Talk to you soon. Thanks for understanding on yesterday's show. Have a wonderful day, and make Locked On Now your second listen by catching up on what's going on with the NBA or Locked On NBA YouTube channel.